continue to call for tighter security measures.
Yeah, just days into office, you may remember President Biden reversed several key border security measures from the Trump administration, only creating more chaos at the border. Well, now, before the election, he is considering an executive order limiting the number of crossings to 4,000 people per day.
Now, you may remember Mr. Biden harshly criticized Mr. Trump's immigration policies to limit border crossings. Joining us now with a closer look is Nelson Balido, a Border Commerce and Security Council chairman. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Great to be with you guys this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. So Dr. Phil visited the border last month, as you may recall, and he saw firsthand the mismanagement to get this crisis under control. Do you think the decision to sign the executive order is a political one, considering where we are in this year?
Of course it's political. You know, I've been saying this for months, especially after the February failed border bill that they tried to pass, is that the president has had the power to be able to change and augment or close or whatever he needs to do on the border from day one. The thing is now he's trying to do too much too late, because he understands that just in December alone, we had over 250,000 people, a record month for the entire 4 years, across the border illegally and be apprehended. The other thing we got to look at is, so now he's saying if we have 4,000 a day, that's about 125,000 a month. I mean, in my opinion, 125,000 too many. But I will tell you that he could do more. Why isn't it 1,000? Why isn't it 500? Why isn't it limited just to the people that are using the CBP One app, which is more of an orderly process, 1,500 people a day on an orderly process? He's still encouraging people to come over the border and still not use an orderly process to get apprehended and be released in this country. And really, the other thing that we got to look at is the 20% what they call gotaways. So for every 100,000 people that cross the border or are actually met at the border, there's another 20,000 that are getting through the border that we have no idea who they are. That's the scary part.
Yeah, that's very concerning on all levels. You know, we've heard so much from border officials and also from national security experts. The provision that the president is eyeing for this executive order would also restrict the ability of immigrants to claim asylum. We've heard about this being a security issue to our nation as well. Is this new order that he's eyeing going to help with those security issues at all, in addition to the illegal border crossings?
Well, he's already saying he's allowing 4,000 in. So let's say that 6,000 show up, he's still going to allow 4,000. So maybe the other 2,000 don't say the appropriate words, because all these people are coached by the cartels, or coached by folks before they ever get to the border. They even have NGOs on the border that are coaching people what to say to the immigration or to the Border Patrol officers that are looking at sifting through this mess, and what to answer, what to say, what not to say, in order to be allowed in this country. So people are coached. People don't just show up one day and say, hey, I'm going north. I'm going to go to North America, to the United States. You know, these are people that are paying money, and it costs about $4,000 to $5,000 per head. That's what they pay the cartel. No one crosses for free, in order to make it to the border. And then from there, they're coached on what to say.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part. Is like we're figuring out workarounds, these executive orders, and what the president or whoever wants to do to ultimately get inside the country.
You know, you brought up an interesting point. I want to make sure that we pause and really make sure people understand what you just said. You said the NGOs are coaching people at the border in terms of what to say, how to get across the border. Those NGOs, many of them, are funded by our government.
That's correct. So a lot of these NGOs have lawyers, have public relations individuals, have caseworkers. They're also looking for volunteers. I saw a call, an email that I got just 3 days ago, calling for volunteers to come help coach these people on what to say. Yes, they're being paid by nonprofits, these nonprofits, by the United States of America through grants and so forth to help. And ultimately, these things are creating a bigger problem. And again, once they get into the United States, the problem is that over 90% never show up to court. So now their visa that was semi-legal then become expired. Now you're lost in America without an opportunity of working or anything. And it's a problem. It's a problem because ultimately people don't show up to court. and now they become illegal because they don't have a way to prove that they actually have an asylum claim.
Nelson, help me wrap my head around this, because the Biden administration is trying to limit this to 4,000 people. But you and I both know that border is very long and very wide. So how on earth do they plan on counting these 4,000 people who are going to cross the border at all of these different points along that border? And Mr. Biden even admitted that limiting the number of border crossings through executive order could end up in court. How is all of this going to play out?
Well, so they do count. Do they count the people that are apprehended or actually are met at the border? What I mean by that is there's three ways to get into this country. One, 1,500 people a day can use the CBP One app. That means an immigrant comes to that wants to claim asylum, comes to the border and applies. It may take a few months to get through the system because it's only 1,500 a day. Then they come through the actual ports of entry, not in between. The rest of the people come in between the ports of entry. In other words, they don't want to wait. They don't want to use an app. They don't want to use a quasi-legal way of entering this country to wait for their asylum case. And they just go to the border, find a border agent. So the wall doesn't do any good because the wall is already on U.S. soil. And now by law, I have to go apprehend you, whether you're whatever side of the wall you're on anyways, apprehend you. I bring you in. I am going to give you an interview, which, by the way, you're already coached. Right? I'm going to give you an interview, and then I'm going to allow you into the country. What's not counted is the gotaways. So for every 100,000 people that cross, or every 10,000, there's another 2,000 that are other than the folks that they know that there's no way they would be allowed in this country because they probably have criminal records. They may be single males. They may come from suspect countries and so forth. So the other 20% that are coming into this country have no documentation whatsoever. Right. They never talk to an immigration or a border patrol or a customs agent on their way in, and they come in, they sneak in. Yeah. And that's the problem that we have, because these people are MS-13, some of these people are the 19th Street Gang. Yeah. There are other types of terrorist countries are on watch lists that they know they don't want to meet border patrol because they'd be immediately deported. So they find ways around it. And that's the biggest problem that we have. So if 120,000 people that Biden wants to let in per month, there's another 20,000, there's another 20, 30,000 people right behind it that we're even going to know anything about. So now you're talking 150,000 people per month, which is way too many, and we can't handle it. There's no way. We're busting at the seams as it is, and he's only saying bring in more. I don't think it's going to be challenged in court.
Wow. Well, Commerce and Security Council Chairman Nelson Balido. Nelson, thank you for taking us behind the headlines on this deeply important issue.
Thank you.
Great to be with you this morning. Thank you, guys.
Coming up on Dr. Phil Primetime, a riveting